marked the sole to punch it. It was 3/8 of an inch with our caliper. We're going to do the same thing on the butt seam. And if you'll remember, when this thing was a whole piece, these things come together in this fashion to make the entire shoe. So, to find your butt seams when it's laid out, it's the curve here by the toe, and it's the curve here by the long tail, which becomes the tongue. 3/8 of an inch from the corner by the tongue all the way down to the bottom where you've got your registration marks. And at the toe, from the corner all the way down to the nice rounded toe, also where you've got a bunch of registration marks. This leather is so much softer than the stuff we have on the sole. I like to mark it with a pen so that I don't lose it. Because once you start handling this leather, that caliper mark is going to go away very easily. That way I know where to drive my awl without fighting for it. And I can just get the work done. So that's going to line up like this. So when I have a finished shoe, that becomes the butt seam right here. And then the tongue wraps around on the other side. What we're doing here is we are driving the awl at an angle so that it comes out a couple of millimeters away from the edge of the leather. We never want to pierce the finished side of the leather. What we ideally want to do is we want to pierce the leather just above the finished edge. We never want to pierce the finish. So we finally got our sole finished. I've got it punched. We're close to the edge on all of our holes, hopefully below center, closer to the edge on every single one of those little out holes. Again, that's a 3/8 inch seam and pretty even. Now we're going to move on to the butt seam. So we want to make sure that this butt seam matches up as I block these stitches out. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I've got a half size stitch, so I get all the way up to this corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and a half, so that's 9 stitches. And I'm about a half size away from the bottom seam. 1, 2, 3, 4, and see I've still got my marks here. I'm not just doing this randomly. 5, 6, 7, 8, and then my half size at 9. So that should pull me right up to there. Now this stuff is going to pull up to even, and remember, leather's nice and stretchy, so I'm going to start my seam here, and then once it sews, it should pull me up real nice, and I'll end up in the same place. Oh dear, wish me luck. This is the same principle we've used on the bottom, on the sole. Sole's easier to punch because it's real firm leather. This is soft leather. So we're going to try to go for the same angle. We're going to try to land right about there with the awl. And we're going to come in here, punch through it at an angle, and come out on the edge of the leather. So we want it to come out in the middle of that mass. It's going to be tricky. It's a good thing leather's tough stuff. There we go. I got one punch. So let's Let's see if we can do that 18 more times for this shoe. I guess that's 1, so 17 more times. I can do math. Wish me luck. All right, so we're using about a yard of material. Think one shoulder to the opposite fingertip. I've threaded my needle, and I'm going to take this thread, and I'm going to pierce my thread with the needle. I'm hoping to get it halfway through. That's better. Wow, I just got dive bombed by a bee right in the back of the head. And then I'm going to do it again. So I have the thread, it's threaded here, and I have a loop of material and a loop of material, and I'm going to do it one more time. So it has pierced the thread 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to slide that down past the eye, all the way down, so that it's a nice length. It's not going anywhere.
That is so cool.
But it doesn't create a bulk. There's no knot. It really just is the width of 2 threads. So that's not going to bind me up very much.
That's a cool trick. Okay, so now what I do?
Slide her down. Yep, keep going, keep going, keep going. Just grab that. Haha.
That was so cool.
Right? Do it on the other side. Okay. So, we're going to start this seam. From the outside on each side. Oh, that's a really poor. Okay, so into the middle with both pieces of thread.
Okay.
And then these threads indicate where we go with each needle. So we cross over this needle, comes to the center and in and out.
To the opposite side.
Yes, to the opposite side.
Like sewing, like
Yes.
shoes.
That's what we're making.
Time. When you tie, shut up. I'm not making funny.
I'm not making fun, I promise. Did you see what just happened to me? I promise, I mock not. Okay, so then we pull it taut, and we literally butt those pieces of leather right up to each other. That's why this is called a butt seam, because it just butts right up to each other. Yeah? That's a butt. And then we have to do that again.
I know. There we go.
But you know what I'm going to do? This is not how I was taught to do it, but I'm going to teach you differently because it'll help the leather stay where we put it without it squishing. Okay? Without being able to do this.
Okay.
Okay?
Because we don't want to.
We don't really want it to pull past itself.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, right. So instead of going over all the way and coming back through both sides, we're going to cross over to the center again. And we're going to come up through.
Well, I missed that, so
Okay.
let me get to the...
Okay. Because this stitch is going to keep it from pulling too far. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
Because it won't be able to pull past itself and squish the leather too far. Because the first stitch pulls it as tight as it can together, and the second stitch says, oh, I can only go as far as center.
Okay. Now I'm caught up, but not to the unique thing that you're doing. I just have gotten back through
So the
whole
second
time.
stitch comes from outside to
Okay.
in. So
Okay.
we find the in and then come up,
Uh-huh.
right? And make sure that that's the second stitch comes to the inside. But here,
Aren't these our third set of stitches?
well, technically we set our needles the first time.
Okay.
We took a set of stitches the second time.
Okay.
And so this is really our second set of stitches.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to let my needle find its way through.
Okay.
So the second stitch is going up and under, but look at that, still nothing showing on that side. Okay?
Okay, I think I might understand.
Yes.
This. We'll see.
Okay. We don't go all the way to the outside to take the second stitch. We take the stitch
From the center.
from the center to the outside.
Okay.
And that leaves us right where we need to be to continue our butt seam. Not steamy butts, seamy butts.
I like steamy butts.
Ugh, swampy. Okay. So once again, this is what we're going for. These stitches show, and then the jump to the next stitch shows, but nothing on this side shows. Okay, seam is practically invisible. Here's my butt seam in the finished and turned shoe. The next stitch is going to hide inside the shoe because we're going to come down to this next stitch, and you'll see that this isn't at a centimeter. This is my weird size stitch to get to the corner in the right fashion. So I'm going to come down the line and I'm going to push my stitch through the drill spot. Oh, that is ugly. So this didn't want to drill properly. I'm going to have to really find it and make sure I don't go out. Okay, so it's not, you can't see the needle on that side of the leather, so this is the right hole. And then in order to find the hole over here, I'm going to use this needle in this hole, because once again, these holes are hard to find, right? But so the shiny of the needle shows me where this hole is so that I can find it. I'm going to pull this needle back to find the hole there, okay? So the only thing that using this needle on this side did for me there was to show me where the hole was. So it just goes in and all the way through, and I'm using this to pull it through. So this thread just hides. So it goes down the side and it goes all the way through both of those holes, okay? So on this side, same thing. This one, now that I've tangled them nicely, is going to come down this side, and now the thread is going to show me where to go. But in order so that I don't sew through this one, I'm going to hold it taut up above, and I'm going to go down the side of it. And I'm going to use the thread inside to find the other hole. There it is in there. And I'm going to use that thread to find the hole. And I'm going to use the direction it shows me. And I'm just going to gently wiggle up. And hopefully it's going to be kind.
I know, I love you.
And then I'm going to use the table to help me push it up and through. Okay? So, and I'm going to use my deerskin. Okay, that's stitch number 2, but you can see I have 2 threads in there. They crisscross inside the leather, and when I grab it and pull it taut, that butts the leather right up tight. And I'm getting a little bit of wrinkle in there on my butt seam, so I know it's working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. This is going to line up really nicely once all the leather pulls together, like it will, because leather stretches and it gives and it's kind. on the top, the first stitch, everything shows across the top of the leather. We're going to do the same thing down here. So I'm going to crisscross this.
This is so satisfying.
Okay. I'm going to get 2 more stitches here. The whole park's full of fun.
Yeah.
Fun. Daddy takes the T-bird.
That's one of the songs I performed as a tween.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Trying not to break out the song.
Well, don't. This wants to be a nice, tidy little... curve. See this? It just wants to be a bit of a curve. Because it's a happier little piece of the puzzle.
Okay, and how do I finish it?
Oh, I haven't done that yet, but it wants to look a lot like the thing on top.
Okay.
Right?
Now is the time to pull the tension.
Yeah. Yours looks really good. Bring it over here.
Yeah.
Center it. Here's Marcy's. Look at that, folks. This is some beautiful stitch work right here. These stitches are nice and even in length. They seem to be fairly even in tension. Obviously, we're working on this one right here. That's a place that can just use a little bit of tweaking. Right there, look at that. Fixed. Look at that butt seam. Ladies and gentlemen, she drilled those real clean and even. There's no buckling or puckering. That is going to be, well, it already is. That is a beautiful butt seam. Marcy Ludlow, ladies and gentlemen. After I finish the butt seam, I like to check the tensioning. Make sure that all the stitches are about the same. Wiggle it, work it a little bit. And then, after you finish your final stitches, you finish it off with a square knot. Right over left, left over right. Yank it down tight. Yank it down really tight. Make sure that knot is not going anywhere. Cut the tails to about 1 inch. They should tuck into your shoe nicely. You should never notice them. And always secure your needles. Needles are easy to lose and they do a lot of damage when you find them the wrong way. And that shouldn't go anywhere. Of course, if your knot comes undone and you have an inch-long tail, you can do something about it. If you don't have it, you'll never recover it, and you'll have to do all that stitching again. And that'll just kind of tuck into your shoe, and you'll never notice it again, right? Okay, now, the next step is blue.